I have to have one door open. I have to have one open. Yep. Yep. Transparency or something. Okay, so we will call this committee of the whole meeting November 24th to order. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq. Record of attendance. We know Councillor Lesser is away, so can I have a motion to, okay, Councillor Bell and Deputy Mayor. Any discussion on that one? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Declarations of conflict, anyone? And you can declare at the time of the agenda item. Approval of agenda. Any additions? I have yours. I have 11A, Councillor Dare's Go Here. It's just for information. I'm just going to say this, time permitting. We have, how many people have to go to Mariners on Main? Okay, we all have to go to Mariners on Main for 5:30. Understanding that we could be late, except the sandwich selection will be less. And that will put the deputy at risk because he likes his sandwiches. So we're going to do our best to be done before that time, just as a heads up. If we have extra things that we have to do along the way, I just have some information items that I can add under additions, time permitting. Otherwise, I'll just send out emails. So approval of the agenda with the addition. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Heather. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Okay, we have one presentation today, physician recruitment with Carrie Muse. Welcome, Carrie. We're thrilled that you're here. So you know how it works.
I know how it works.
Yep.
Know it. I will try to be quick, but you know me.
Yep.
Anyway.
And you know that we don't make decisions today.
I know that.
Okay,
yep.
Good.
Yep.
So
perfect.
You have like 10 minutes, whatever you. Yeah.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay. I won't introduce myself because you know me and I know you. And I am going to say thank you for having me here today and hearing me and for your support over the past 4 years. Many of you have been very intricately connected to what we're doing at the Chamber of Commerce and doctor recruitment, and I thank you for your support so far. And I'm here to ask you for support for the next 3 years. I'm going to start with a quote. I sent some of our doctors who are very involved in teaching resident doctors an email asking them to tell me if they think this program is worth continuing over the next 3 years. And this came back from Dr. Yee, Dr. Kenny Yee, who has trained over 6 residents in the past 12 years, and he is an amazing teacher of our resident doctors. In one word, yes. Cutting funding to this service, spearheaded by the Chamber of Commerce and Rebecca, would be like sawing off the branch that is keeping me on the tree. In this current environment of staff shortage, from whatever the causes are, we cannot afford to take the foot off the gas pedal ever. And that, again, is from Dr. Yee. So I'll proceed from there. 4 years ago, as you know, we came to this very naive and thinking that we could just go out and handpick and recruit doctors. We've become edumacated, and we realize how complicated this process is, but we are journeying through it. In your package I sent you online, you'll see that we're at a net gain of 16 physicians over the past 4 years, which is exceptional. And Brian Moses, who is our preeminent physician, internal medicine physician, says that I think we have maintained physician services here better than many other areas because of Rebecca the Community Navigator program, and our efforts as a community. So that was one of Brian's responses to my queries. We have had physicians leave, we've had them come and go, but they're due to very foreseeable causes, life causes that happen in any field of retirement, relocation, especially for family reasons, education, pursuit of further education. And I want you to absorb this quote. Since we've gotten involved, we haven't lost any physicians here due to bad relations and unhappy work conditions.
Huge.
That is a huge statement because we have lost physicians in the past due to those very things. But now, as part of our retention efforts, we're able to nip that in the bud, get involved, make things work, and it seems to be working well. There's still a lot more to do, and we've done a lot more on the recruitment side than we've done on the retention side, but we're now seeing a little bit of balance where we can do more on both sides. And Brian is helping us navigate through that too. We had a really good CNAC meeting the other night, which was attended by Heather, your representative on our committee, and we made some good decisions for the future, exciting things for the future for our doctor retention efforts as well as our recruitment efforts. I just came from a meeting this afternoon, and this happens because we have this committee and this group of people working together. Angie Green was at our meeting on Tuesday night and said she knew of a recruiter from Israel who was in Nova Scotia. Well, they called me last night, 2 recruiters, one from the Ukraine, one from Israel. We just had a meeting attended by Dr. Moses, which was fascinating. And there is so much they can do for us, and there is so much we can work towards together, including for CAA workers, nurses, physicians, fish plant workers. We just unleashed a huge resource in the last hour. So it's another avenue that we're able to pursue. So those are the kind of things that are happening. Now, over the past 4 years, we've built relationships with our provincial recruiters who we did not know from a hole in the wall before this started. Now they don't have a site visit without us. We organize their site visits. We make them more than just a walk through the hospital. They're part of a community. And on Tuesday night, actually, when we were in CNOC, Natalie and her husband were at Wild Roots with an anesthesiologist who were courting. He happened to bring his wife, who's a GP, who's practicing in Ontario. We had another doctor from the hospital there, another couple, and the discussions were fantastic, and he's now looking at us as an option, and the only option he's looking at in the province. So fingers crossed on that one. But it's bringing in resources from the community, Natalie, her husband, other physicians, putting them in a wonderful environment where discussion can happen. What is the lifestyle like here? And overall, our lifestyle, even for physicians, is way ahead of other places in the world. It's ahead of Ontario, it's ahead of Alberta, and it's ahead of England. And they have more work-life balance here, even though they work really hard. It's still better. So when you can portray that to potential candidates and coming from the community, it's really, really an asset, and that's what we do. That's what was not happening before doctor recruitment efforts started here with our group. We've improved our relations with hospital staff so much. They feel supported, and they reach out to us. So not just for physicians, but also in nursing and other areas as well. We have those connections going back and forth. NS Health, we're still going through the minefield of what actually happens there and how it works, but it is becoming clearer, and then it changes when the government changes, and then we try again and go through the minefield. But we have a way better working relationship with NS Health than we had before, which was zilch. Our resident doctors, okay. Resident doctors have been our #1 recruitment. I'm just gonna read you briefly. This is from Dr. Emma Crawley, who came to us, and she studied under Abir, Dr. Hussain, at the hospital. And this is what she said in brief. It's longer. I won't bore you with all, not bore you, but take the time to read all of it. Rebecca and the Chamber of Commerce have played a key role in bringing me to Yarmouth to complete my family medicine residency. She even found jobs for residents' non-physician spouses upon arrival to Yarmouth. She's helped us with, her influence on the medical community has been integral in recruiting and retaining physicians, and the Community Navigator Initiative should absolutely be continued. And this is from Dr. Melissa Powers. Melissa didn't plan to stay here when she came as a resident doctor. The work of Rebecca and the Chamber is invaluable to recruitment in our area. As a resident physician, Rebecca was an asset in assisting me and others to find accommodations. She organized many social events that allowed me to get to know other physicians in the community and their families. This helps foster the collegiality among physicians in Southwest Nova. As a new family physician in the area, I know that I can always ask Rebecca for support. I have recently taken on the role of faculty undergraduate coordinator. This is a brand new doctor, where I welcome medical students in the area and help them match with their preceptors. From the students I've talked to over the past couple of years, Yarmouth and Southwest Nova had gained a reputation as a great location to complete rotations and electives. This is in part due to affordable housing options, a warm welcome by our community navigator, administrative staffs, and preceptors. This is a fantastic initiative that has been successfully adopted in other areas of the province. To remain competitive in recruitment and retention in Nova Scotia, this initiative in Yarmouth should be continued. Dr. Melissa Power, family physician at the Oceanside Clinic. So we're in our fourth year. We actually stretched the money that all of you, and that's the municipalities, 4 municipalities, including Barrington, the Hospital Foundation, who has given us $50,000 a year to operate, the province of Nova Scotia, the Chamber, we put in our own resources plus $5,000 a year, and Canadian Tire. So last week, 2 weeks ago, I presented to the Argyle Council. I asked them for a slight increase over the next 3 years to $25,000 a year to cover increased costs. We all see those increased costs everywhere. They voted and gave us a $30,000 increase over the next 3 years, $30,000 a year over the next 3 years. I felt like I was on a roll, so I went to see Darcy DeSetter at Canadian Tire. Darcy's corporation has given us $3,333.33 a year for the past 3 years. And I asked him if we could round it up to $3,500 so I wouldn't have to say that amount. And he said no. He said we're rounding it up to $5,000. So a significant increase from both of those parties. And we really appreciate that they understand the work we're doing and support the work. So my ask to you is for $25,000 over the next 3 years to help us continue in these efforts. I did circulate information and I'd like to entertain questions. You had a bunch of information online, but I also gave you this scorecard today too, which we use this as a tool to measure at a quick glance for people, to measure our progress. So you can see we've had 26 locums go through Credit Union Place. And I didn't finish my list of the people that we've had amazing relationships with, including med students, locums, residential landlords and real estate agents have been a huge help. We have a list at all times of what's available for incoming physicians and nurses and travel nurses, elected officials, and Coastal Financial Credit Union. And I won't go into, because you're all aware of how much they donated in terms of $1 million facility in this town that is now part of your tax base. And it is unbelievable the effect that it has had on recruitment. Our medical students, when they come and go from there, feel supported, welcome, financially richer because we don't overcharge them for the week that they're here while they're still paying their rent in Halifax to go to Dalhousie. It's been an incredible asset. It's full all the time. If there are any vacancies, we do let travel nurses stay there, but for the most part, it's full of medical students, locum doctors, and resident doctors at all times. And it's managed by Tracy Otten in our office, and it's managing at at a slight profit, which is wonderful as well. Any money that we make from that, we're mandated by the credit union to put back into doctor recruitment as well. So we're very, very grateful for their contribution. Where am I? First of all, I'd like to ask if people have any questions. There's one statistic on here that is very alarming. And it's this box here, unassigned patients in the Western zone. So it's at 24.6%. So 25% of our population does not have a doctor. That sounds absolutely horrific. It has gone up. We've had a lot of people move here. We've had retirements. So it is a very accurate statistic right now. It's not the highest in the province. The highest in the province is in Pictou County. They're higher. The difference is that for us, being lowly populated, this is easily remedied with the addition of 5 or 6 family physicians. We can get this down to almost nil. In other parts of the province where they have a higher population, and you see that statistic, that can take 100 doctors in Halifax. That can take way more doctors in more populous areas. So I know it's a scary statistic, but it is achievable to get that to 0. Just a month ago, and this is our most exciting development, we've been advertising in a lot of medical journals now that we know where to direct our advertising. And we got a cold call from a young doctor in New Hampshire. So we are 98% ready to sign him. Nova Scotia Health is doing up a job offer, which is huge. So he came to us. He wanted to practice in Nova Scotia. He's from Toronto. Went to school in New Hampshire, GP, family physician, has his own ultrasound machine, which was awesome. And he wanted to practice here. So I won't say his name. So we met with them, toured him through the hospital, had wonderful day, took him out for dinner, had a nice complement of young people, young doctors there to meet him, and other people from the community, including Councillor Nick Hilton from the municipality. And this doctor also toured Sydney and Amherst. And they don't have a community navigator, and we do. And we're this close to getting him here. And that means access to everyone he trained with in New Hampshire and Toronto and whoever he's connected with in his medical studies. So it would be an August start next year, which is amazing. He'd be bringing his spouse. So we're looking for a job for him as well. And it's super exciting. This is the kind of stuff that we can do by doing this project. And it's not just an effort of having a community navigator, it's having the management team for the community navigator connected to the chamber, connected to all 5 or 6 funding communities, because we're all a part of it. And that feeds into the enthusiasm and the welcoming and the community that it's building around each doctor that comes. Any questions?
One here. You want to start?
Sure. Thank you. First off, I just want to say congratulations. This is an innovative look. The whole process is tremendously innovative, and what you have done is nothing short of amazing. My one question is, and it's funny, you kind of addressed it in a way, but from what you hear, and what I mean is news and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. What you hear is it's much harder to get family doctors than it is specialties. And you seem to have pretty good luck both ways. But is it that much harder to find those family doctors as opposed to a specialty doctor?
Well, the field has gotten a lot more competitive. So when we started this, we were kind of at the bottom of the barrel. Now, right across the country, there's a shortage. And there's a couple different aspects to that. There has been a huge strain put on our healthcare system. So some doctors have left or doing other things. Also, the training aspect is different in different areas. And getting GPs and making them feel welcome within the community, it isn't easy. But it's starting to get easier for us because we have all these pieces in place. And now that we're retaining our resident physicians and we're getting the median age of the other practicing physicians down, and they're kind of feeling like a group, and it's amazing that that's going to snowball for us. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Carrie, can you just speak to regarding family physicians as well, in regards to Wade's question regarding the cost of them setting up practice and how that is a deterrent for people to do that?
It is, yeah, very good point, Heather. So when family physicians come out of training, they've done 4 years of university for their first degree, 4 years for med school, 2 years of residency at which they're paid a very low salary, but it's something, and they're coming out heavily in debt. So then they have to start up their practice. And that's not, you walk in and the government hires you and you walk in and you have an office set up. That's, you have to pay to start up your own practice. So it is a big burden. And one of those burdens is rent. So we have, when you give a physician money, it just comes off the other end, right? So what you want to do is lower their startup costs. So we've been looking at just simple little incentives, and this has worked big time in Clare, big time. That's why they have a full clinic.
Yeah, they're good.
Because they're very good at that.
Yeah.
But if you lower the startup costs and get them in the door, and then they're able to build their practice without being totally stressed about money. I mean, we've seen family physicians who are trying to just have a practice, but they have to go work extra shifts as a hospitalist at the hospital to pay the costs of their family practice, until they're established and going. And it's very stressful for them. So anytime you can assist with that, it greatly enhances your chance of landing a physician. So we've started making those approaches, and it doesn't take much. It really doesn't. And just have it over the first year of their practice to get them here and get them established. It's very important, and it does work. And it doesn't work if it's, we give you the money when you go to med school and then you come and pay us back, because they're not coming for the right reason then. They're coming to pay you back.
That's right.
You need to get them here, fall in love with the community, and offer them these, we're going to give you a helping hand to get started. That works. It does.
So, number one, timeline. Is there a timeline on the funding?
This is for your next budget year.
Okay,
Because
good.
what we're doing is the money that we had for the first 3 years, we bridged it over 3.5. Because of COVID, we didn't travel as much. So we've made that money spread over 3.5 years so that we're just asking for the next budget year.
Yep, perfect.
Yep.
And then the team that the province just put together, that Dr. Dow is on,
Yeah.
does that affect this in any way? I skimmed through it and I said, oh my gosh, I should send it to Rebecca. But then I didn't
Okay.
realize, I couldn't figure out how it would affect, if it was good or not good.
It is good. Thank you
Okay.
for that question. So Dr. Dow is over at our office right now.
Good.
Her and Dr. Moses and Rebecca. And I
Excellent.
just left there to come here.
Okay.
And we're working with her, of course. We also have Noelle Moulaison from our hospital, who's working for Doctors Nova Scotia as well. So we work with Noelle. But the funding, Tuesday night at our CNOC meeting, so the new funding that's coming in, they gave us $25,000 a year. We're reapplying for that, but we're applying for more, and we're
Excellent.
going to add to that. So we've talked about, and I'm just trying to remember, Heather, correct me if I'm wrong. We're going to apply for $25,000 to hire a consultant, and we have someone in mind, a physician in mind, to investigate what it will take to get a collaborative practice going at our hospital. Dr. Abir Hussain has asked for a collaborative model, and what that means is a practice where the other disciplines are right there. So she has a pharmacist accessible or a physiotherapist accessible, all the other disciplines. So that makes practice so much easier, so much more efficient, so much better for the patient. And we need to study that and get it going. Abir did apply to the province for that because it is a model they've said they're going to use. But she doesn't have the time to do the proper presentation and the proper thing. So we want to do that on her behalf and with her. And we also want to look into the nurse practitioner part of it as well.
Okay.
So
That's exciting to hear, because that whole collaborative practice is what they've been preaching for so long, and we need to get it done. And I guess I go to mental health, because mental health is top of mind for everybody. How does a family doctor deal with all these mental health issues when this is not their forte, and you could have a mental health expert right on that collaborative team? It would just...
exactly.
It would just fix things,
Yep.
on every front, so.
So that's one of our big goals in the next 4 years.
Wonderful.
Is to establish a collaborative practice. And if we can get that, oh my goodness. And
I
the
know.
training that goes with
Yeah.
that,
Game
for our
changer.
resident doctors to see that in action, so it becomes a model for how they practice.
Yeah. Game changer.
It's wonderful.
So, Lindsay, what happens now? This goes on our next committee of the whole? Okay. Okay. And then, Counselor.
Is that thumbs down?
Scared me. Thought I did something.
Thank you, Your Worship. Whoa. I forgot what I was going to ask. Thank you for coming, Carrie. Appreciate the update. And the questions that I have are more around just fine tuning how you are going forward with your measures of success. Because 3 years ago you started out, as you said, naive, not quite, and you've learned a lot.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm interested in, because it is complicated, a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And so even in municipal governance, there are a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And so, I'm looking at how do we ensure that scarce dollars for health services, whether it's provincial, municipal, private, federal, how do we ensure that there's alignment amongst all the parties so that those scarce dollars are used really effectively, and that there is not, sort of mixed purposes. So I guess the question I have is with regards to your relationship with Nova Scotia Health and how you are messaging and communicating with Nova Scotia Health in terms of your prioritizations going forward for the next 3 years. If you can help me.
I love that question, because one of my beefs is that we should be sharing the resources that Nova Scotia Health is putting into recruitment. And as of yet, they have not let us team up with them at conferences. And conferences, when you go to a medical conference and you buy a booth, it's extremely expensive. So when I went to the anesthesiology conference way back before COVID, and it was myself and Rick Allright and Dr. Nasser, Nova Scotia Health was sitting here, and they had a few little things spread out, freebie stuff to give out. And we were over here, and we had the most amazing Yarmouth booth with backgrounds made up by Yazda and bling like you wouldn't believe, and contests and people. We had the best booth in the show. And we each paid, $4,000 or $5,000 to have these two booths. And we could have been together. And I know Nova Scotia Health was just at a conference in the UK, and they will not even entertain us going with them. So if we pay our recruiter to be there and work together, and that is a big beef of mine. I have a meeting with the Minister of Health on December 6th.
It's down here, right?
Yep. And that is going to be one of the issues that we bring up, because I don't know if it's a protectionist thing, or one person did say, oh, it's to be fair to all communities. Well, guess what? If we get full complement of doctors, then we are recruiting for every community. If we're good, we're going to keep recruiting. We're a province and we have to work together, right? Now, we recruit for Yarmouth. Don't get me wrong. We recruit for this area. But if we can team up with Nova Scotia Health and be there in concert together, I think it's way more effective. Yeah.
Okay. And so you see the Office of Healthcare Professionals Recruitment, that's a new alignment?
Yes.
And that's the office through which this new funding model?
The new stream is coming through there.
And so
Now-
you see yourself fitting in that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When that was first created, right away, it was Dr. Kevin Orrell at first. We had him down here in the first 3 weeks, and his whole staff, and we've been working with them ever since. Now, the staff has changed there, so we're reestablishing new relationships and putting our stamp on them, and it really helps that Dr. Dow's in there now. That's a huge asset, but that office is who we're working through, yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And
Well,
it is a good resource.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent. I think it's really important that all the partners create opportunities for alignment and that we don't sort of, butt against one another, because at the end of the day, it's the patients that we are serving, not the doctors, not the healthcare providers, not us, not you, but the patients of this area, so. That's great.
100%, yeah. And I still, one of the biggest things I've learned through this whole journey is what an asset we have here in terms of our regional hospital and our staff and our training programs. We are so lucky to have what we have, and that's what we're selling, because we're a very special medical community here. We really are. Yeah.
And it's, the health resources. Thank you. Really appreciate that.
So that's what we are selling. So I don't know that I'd want to share a booth.
What was that?
I don't know that I'd want to share a booth. I think I would want to, but I respect that you're the expert.
Cost-wise, it's so attractive, and we still will shine. I guarantee you.
Yeah, because I'm thinking the way you set up and the way you interact, we don't check off boxes here. We do it with purpose and, so.
And the other asset that we have that I didn't mention is that because we teamed up with the Chamber of Commerce, we're the only community to do that, we have a network of business people behind us, and marketing, and the ability to sell, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have that ability to sell, and you just sit behind a table and wait for people to come to you, you got to be a salesperson to do this, right?
Right.
So it's a perfect fit for me within the Chamber of Commerce, because we have that other aspect. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. If anyone has questions or
No,
just
say hello to everybody back there in that meeting from
Yep.
us. Okay, so we're going to put that, up. Do you want it to go on the next committee of the whole? Do you want it to go on the council meeting?
Council meeting's just, council meeting's just a couple of weeks away, so why don't we do it then?
It's up to you guys. Okay, so we'll put it on there. It's a $25,000 ask. I like what Argyle did, though, I'll just say that. Thank you. We're good, okay. Staff report, CAO report, he's not here, but be next time. Fire department, the chief is here. Anything for the chief? Or chief, if you had anything to share, by all means. We're good? Okay. Operations, Chad is here. Is there any questions for Chad? Go ahead, Councillor Dares.
Yeah, just one. So I've been monitoring my own speed as I've been traveling through Main Street recently, and I don't think I've gone over 35 kilometers an hour on Main Street at any time. And I'm just wondering what the process would be, or if there's a process that we could follow to reduce the speed limit in the downtown core. And the reason I say that is that rather than have traffic calmers, which I've seen in other communities, but I think they would be probably interfere with the plowing operations. So I'm just wondering if a reduction of the speed limit would be appropriate, and what's the process?
Well, the process is you ask and I'll look into it. Simple as that.
So, so when he says ask, he means by motion.
Sure.
Well, that's how we have
Yes,
to do
yes,
it, right? So that
absolutely,
it gets, so that it gets on the books.
Yeah.
But those, I'm gonna say the word that the community, some of the community doesn't like, but the bump outs stop the traffic from flying through. Like that was most of the purpose from engineering's perspective. Those bump outs have slowed traffic considerably. They really have. So that's a plus. Go ahead.
So I agree that the bump outs have been effective, and even though I think the first time I heard about it, I wasn't overly sold, but I am now. But I still think that a visual reminder of the fact that you have to slow down the downtown core would be appropriate. And in addition to that, I think it might be helpful for the policing situation if they had that tool in their belt.
Sure.
So I would make that a motion, that we reduce the speed limit. And
have
I'd
staff,
leave
yeah.
the recommendation to Chad of the
Have
amount.
staff look into reduction of the speed limit. That's
Yep.
what you, so that you look at it and
Yep.
figure it out.
Yep.
That good? Okay. Who seconded that? Okay, Deputy Mayor. Any discussion on this one? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Anything else for Chad? Something for you later, I think, but yeah, good. Thank you. Planning and Economic Development. Natalie has something for us. Any questions for Natalie before she? And we do have in-camera things with Natalie after. One.
Hi, everyone. Just two things. I think previously the CAO said there were some questions around the building inspection process and building fees. So I've brought my two stars here, Glenn Muse, our senior building official, and that's the phone. Our junior building official, if there are any questions that you'd like to engage in. If not, we can defer it to another time.
I don't know what the questions were, so. Oh, guess not.
Okay, so the second thing I would like to acknowledge today is Tony Morris is our planner, his last day with us. And additionally, it's also the last day that Francois Legrandeur, who played two roles, our junior building official and bylaw enforcement officer. So today's their last day, and I just wanted to say and extend our appreciation for all the great work and support and positive impact they made on our community and within the town. So I just wanted to acknowledge that today.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, gentlemen, for everything. Not for leaving, but thank you for everything else. Natalie, did you fall for that?
Yeah, it's just my, I know.
Yeah, we really appreciate everything you've done. Lots of changes for sure, because you came in the midst of some pretty hairy situations, but we really appreciate everything you've done, everything but the leaving. But we certainly understand that, so we just wish you the best and carry on. You're welcome. Okay. We good? Engineering. DeMario's not here, but look, they're off to clean up some properties and get some building permits. DeMario's not here, but if anyone has questions, they can find him. Jerry's not here, and Frank's not here. Business letter to the RCMP regarding concerns of council. I put that on there because just wondering, we have a police advisory board. Is there anything that anybody has on their minds that you would like us to bring, that we would put on paper, on town letterhead, and that we would bring that back to the RCMP. Is there anything? Go ahead, Councillor Cleveland.
Well, one thing that I have a real problem with, and I'm at the risk of sounding like a curmudgeon, through the past summer, it has gotten very tiresome to listen to what sounds like Formula One racing or drag racing happening pretty much every night from my veranda at, around, I don't know, starts maybe around 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night and goes on all evening long. And there has to be something that can be done about it. There has to be. So I'd like to have that mentioned for sure.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
I agree with what Councillor Cleveland said. I actually received a few emails from people who live close to Main Street, and same thing. Main Street's a drag strip most nights. I walk my dog usually between 7 and 9 o'clock. Between that and also not just the speeding, but the, for lack of a better term, the fart mufflers that seem to make the noise that much louder. If that could be addressed. I actually had one citizen said that they were considering moving away from the town itself because even if they do call, the situation doesn't seem to be addressed. So I think that's a pretty easy park on side of the road and grab them if you can. Although I appreciate the work that our RCMP does. I think that's an easy one. And secondly, regular school visits. I know that that's been on the list when I was formerly on the committee, and although it seems to, after the ask, you see them for a couple weeks and then not. And once again, I realize people are busy, but sometimes those relationships built with our youth make things a lot easier when things go wrong. So if those two things could be added, that would be great.
So what's a regular school visit for you? Is it just because I want to?
Well, I guess for me is just building positive relationships. Maybe stop by, shoot a couple hoops, walk the hall, say hello. Not just there for, to deal with a matter, more so just building relationships and the positivity that can come from that when, our kids feel somewhat connected and not just a heavy coming in to, throw them in the back of a car and go. So, I do think that would help both ways personally. So, weekly, every now and then. I know when Hugh Martin was around, that happened quite often at the old high school, and it worked really great. Especially, you need to know something, that relationship's there, and it works out. So,
Okay, good. Thank you, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Your Worship. Addressing the Deputy Mayor's concerns with regards to school visits, I think that it's important to recognize that a lot of our social connections have been impacted by COVID, and we have to, by purpose, we have to purposefully work at reestablishing those social connections, and perhaps the community policing element of visits to school is one of those areas that has fallen by the wayside due to very reasonable restrictions that were put in place. It's just like visiting at the hospital for volunteers, and we need to look at how those things have been fractured and see how we can, re-engage maybe in a post-COVID world. With regards to concerns about policing, I just wanted to raise an issue that's been brought to my attention by neighbors in my community, my residents, and it's with regards to all-terrain vehicles being used as delivery vehicles throughout town on a regular basis, and it's pretty clear where the vehicles reside when they're not on the streets. But I'm just thinking that there probably could be a proactive way of perhaps addressing this. It might just drive the problem somewhere else, but it is pretty conspicuous when you're seeing someone on a four-wheeler literally brazenly going down through the middle of your residential streets to make deliveries. And it would be nice to have that raised at the Police Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Definitely. That's a sort of a funny one. And I'm on Chestnut Street, so they're on the tracks and they're just zipping. And I have no problem with, it's illegal. But if it weren't illegal, that respectful, I've got my helmet on, I'm going, trying to just get across the street so that I can go home, which is illegal. But that there's no helmets and they're spinning in the roads and they're just dangerous. So, not that you can do that anyway because it's illegal. Just saying. Go ahead, Deputy.
This
Get
may
myself in
be
trouble.
more of a question to ask when our CAO is here, but I know our fire department reports to us monthly and whatnot. Could it be possible maybe that we could have a monthly report or have someone here to act as direct questions to? It may make it easier. The public obviously sometimes thinks that, the RCMP may not be doing the job that they think they should. That way, if someone's here, there's a report, we can ask questions ourselves directly. They hear the answers, so that might be a good way to go as well.
Okay. So I'm just putting a monthly report or somebody here to speak to those. Okay. Go ahead, Counselor.
Yeah, just a quick question. Is there any reason why the department head is not attending meetings to?
Nope.
So could we make that a normal practice?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Anything else? If you think anything in the next couple weeks, let me know and I'll add it. Some of us are on police advisory, and it'd be no different with fire or anything else. I just need to know. We need to know that what concerns you're hearing, and it's not that there's not a job being done. It's just what are the concerns out there, and we need to pass them on. So, thanks for that. Housing needs assessment available reports. There's a ton of reports on there. Was it there for any reason?
Well, we asked for them.
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to
Yeah.
look them over, really.
Yeah.
It's too bad that they're so dated, because, one of the issues, of course, is that we're dealing with a lot now, and those assessment reports are old. I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Here I am gabbing without the microphone. Yeah, they're very dated. I did notice that part, but I haven't had a chance to look them over. But I do very much appreciate you having them ready for us, and we can go over them from there. But we had asked for whatever we had on
Okay.
file that we could look at.
So are we okay do you want to move this to the next committee of the whole? Does anybody want to look at these now? Take time to dig in and read them, and go ahead, Councillor Bell.
I would make a motion that we table this housing needs assessment review until the next committee of the whole.
Thank you. Second by Deputy Mayor and Councillor Dares. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you. Request for decision, Prince Lane, one way. So, Chad's here. The recommended motion is that council convert Prince Lane to one-way traffic, Albert to Forest Street. And if there's questions, you can ask him, but I had a chat with Chad in the beginning, because I said, I think I'm going to say no to this, because if it's one complaint, that people are finding difficult, then I would probably say no, but his answer was quite different. So you kind of enlightened me. Thank you.
Yeah, it wasn't really a complaint. Somebody reported a near vehicle conflict on the street. So I went and measured the roadway, and the roadway is only 3.8 meters wide. And according to the guidelines that we follow for designing roads, we need at least 6 meters for two-lane traffic. Now, I don't consider this an urgent matter. I don't suggest many people use Prince Lane as a thoroughfare, probably mostly local traffic. But I had to look at this objectively. And when you look at it objectively, and maybe for a liability standpoint, the street should be converted to one-way traffic.
Yeah. the liability piece hit me. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Dave.
for sure. I live in that neighborhood. And it's funny, when the whole thing started coming up, that it was mentioned, I thought it is a one-way. So I went and checked
So did
it.
I.
Yeah,
So did I.
honestly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it seems kind of it's a no-brainer. It really is. Between that and Park Lane was the other one. Of course, I live right there.
That is
And
one way, though.
yeah, that one is
Yeah.
that is one way. And because Park Lane was one way, I think that's why I assumed that Prince Lane already was. But yeah, I have no problem making this a motion. So
Okay.
I'll make it.
All right. Second? Someone want to second it? Second by Heather? Okay, go ahead, Counselor.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I've got no problem with it whatsoever with it being one way. It's a muse lane. It never was intended to be a street. Like, it was never intended to be a thoroughfare. It was
Yeah.
intended to be a service street, just like Cottage Lane, Park Lane. Wouldn't it be wonderful if every grid in the town were serviced in the back with service lanes? However, the question I have is, how did you come up with the decision to have it going Albert to Forest?
I met with my transportation staff, and from a winter maintenance standpoint, it's an easier direction to plow. And also, Park Lane is the reverse direction, so just for some
Okay,
symmetry on the street from Forest to Albert.
okay,
I haven't notified the local residents.
Right.
I think that would be the first step, just some notification. But that's the reason why we chose
Okay.
Albert to Forest.
okay, perfect, thank you.
Good? Anything else for Chad? Okay, so we'll vote, but this doesn't happen until you, I mean, we have to go through council too, but it won't happen until you speak with residents and see if there's anything.
Yeah. I don't know how to approach that. When we execute some sort of traffic change, like, we don't necessarily go and ask for opinions, just I'd
Yeah.
like to notify.
Advise.
Yeah, advise.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, contrary? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, dark sky policy, and the recommended motion there is to recommend that council adopt a dark sky policy and amend the last land use bylaw to include the relevant provisions from the dark sky policy as it relates to outdoor lighting for certain developments. Okay. Who can?
the motion to put it on the floor.
Okay, put it on the floor. Seconded. Okay, so is that you, Tony? Like, what does this bind us to? First I want to say we understand the importance of dark skies. We understand light pollution. We understand all that.
Yeah.
But what does this bind us to? We don't want to be bound to having to spend $1 million next year because that's.
So it would just apply to new commercial, industrial, high-density residential, and institutional properties
Okay.
or exterior renovations.
Okay.
So the same thing would apply in the town's case if the town was doing renovations to any of its lighting and any public property. That's what it would actually apply to.
Okay.
So most properties it wouldn't have, and then basically voluntarily, like there's still provisions to encourage it, property owners to voluntarily comply with the policy. But the LUB provisions would just be for new developments or exterior renovations.
Okay.
So Joanne would do it through the development permit process. But talking to some of the work that was done, like Tuscan Ford, when they did it, it actually ends up being the same cost.
Yeah.
Like it's just a different design of the lights. So it really, they did it from an energy efficiency standpoint, but it has the added benefit of,
Yeah.
meeting the dark sky intent.
Okay. My concern was just the quick outlay of funds that, under some kind of a, regulation for dark skies. Go ahead, Councillor Heather.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to clarify that this does not include normal residential folks.
Just high density.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So high density meaning large apartment
Four and over?
Yeah.
building, but how many units would that be?
well, high density is over eight units.
Over 8 units,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, I didn't know, that's a good question. Go ahead, Deputy.
Just a, I guess, little comment. When Tim was here last week, he mentioned that it doesn't necessarily mean dim lights. It just means that lights aren't shining up into the sky. So a lot of times when people think this, they think, we're bringing down kind of wattage or lumens or whatnot, but this is just more so the pollution isn't up and that the lights are shining down.
Yeah.
So I think that was a key point that he made, that sometimes we forget when we think about these things.
Exactly.
It's the design of the fixtures and the actual lumens, like what it actually technically means, but it's LED lights tend to be pretty powerful, like the LED lights now. The fixture itself, it's just so it's pointing down so it doesn't cast a shadow. It actually makes it easier to see too, because it doesn't create that glare. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Good, okay. Anything else? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you.
It's
Is that's the
just
last
a
question I'm gonna ask?
clarification on that one. So because it has LUB amendment provisions, I don't know if the next step would be go to PAC first.
Does it just go to public hearing or does it PAC?
Well, it is an LUB. I mean, it's a policy, so council can adopt policies. But then this also has amendment implications for the LUB. So that would then have to go typically PAC and then public hearing process. So, but it could also just go to council because it's council adopting a policy that then has implications for them. So it's kind of up to council.
Yeah. I think so.
There'd still be a public hearing because it has the LUB amendment.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, are you okay with it going through council?
Me?
That's what we have, look, let me tell you something, we look pretty sitting up here, but we're not the experts.
I think because the committee of the whole is what it's going to now, it is going to a committee.
Yes.
I think at the next PAC, there could just be an information to PAC
Okay.
that this is happening.
I just want you as the
Yeah.
planner to be comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's fine. It's really
All right.
there'd still be the public hearing component. You're still going through the LUB
Same
components through
process,
council. Yeah,
same process, and it is policy.
yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chair, you okay with that?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any concerns? Okay, although, go ahead. The,
Amendment to the motion?
No.
No.
so the motion is to adopt the dark sky policy and amend the land use bylaw to include the relevant provisions.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. Vote, we good? What are you thinking? I love how your brain works. Go ahead.
Your worship, I'm just wondering if we could amend the motion to say we adopt the policy and refer to planning the relevant issues regarding the bylaws.
Separate it.
Doesn't need to.
Okay, doesn't need to, we're good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay, all
It's all
right.
good.
Okay, so are you okay with that? Okay. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you. Might be the last.
Thank you, Tony, by the way.
It might be the last question we have to ask you. Can anybody think of anything else to ask our planner?
Otherwise, I'm gonna.
You, thank you for everything. Take care. Okay. All right, so 9E, request for decision municipal boundary review application. And the recommended motion there is to recommend that council accept the boundary report and direct staff to prepare and submit the application to the Nova Scotia UARB to confirm the number of councillors to be maintained at 6 plus a mayor, all elected at large. You moved Councillor Bell and seconded by Councillor Dares.
Can I make a comment?
You absolutely can.
It's just, I wanted to say, there's one thing, you know, usually when this gets reviewed, everybody talks about downsizing. You know, getting it
Yeah.
smaller, getting the amount of people who are working smaller. And at the time when this all came up, I started thinking, considering how hard we are, and I'm not trying to blow our own horns, but considering how many different committees that we all work on, I can't imagine us any smaller than this. How could we do it? So thank heavens this is going this way. I
Yeah.
really do feel that way.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing is, you know, you learn very quickly, 7 different opinions are really important. And how many times have we said, I'm pretty blunt about it, you know, like, if we don't agree, please put that on the table. Because we've easily changed each other's minds by adding more information, which is really important. Get the best decisions. Councillor Dares?
And just to point out one more thing, that Yarmouth was the first town in Nova Scotia to discard the ward system.
Yes.
There are now 26 communities in Nova Scotia that do not have a ward system. So I think Yarmouth should be proud of setting the stage for that.
Very proud.
And we should stick to what we have.
Oh, gosh, yes. No, we can't go back to boards. I would rather have 7 people representing me than 1. Yeah. So, okay, so there is that motion. Is there anything else? This is just for staff to prepare, okay? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Grants budget, 2022 and 2023. Lindsay did send out that information this afternoon for everybody that had a chance to take a peek. So the question here is, this gets put into the upcoming budget as well. So we have to decide, is the amount of grants that we're giving out adequate, or do we want to up that amount? Completely up to council, since Jerry's not here. And we miss him. Go ahead, Councillor.
Me again, and I'm sorry, I keep talking. For me, we've had this discussion over and over again. Just this year, we've kind of slung our way through this, and the way we had come about this and come out with that number, I thought was very fair, I guess is a good way to put it, which is 1 cent, is it not, of the amount of taxes that go on. And I think that that's a really good way to do it. It commits us to amounts. If we grow, if our tax base grows, then we have more money. And it also gives us that limit so that we know that we are not a bank and we're not a well that you know shoots out money. That we are happy to play a part in all of these, because everybody who comes to us pretty much are worthy, but we can't be the only source of funding for these areas. We're just not built for it. We're too small. And so for me, I really believe that the way we've come up with it is adequate and proper. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sure.
I just want to note that the 1 cent is for organizational rates only, so if you
Yeah.
use that, you still have to set the tax rate.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah. So that penny, we're going to stick to the penny unless anybody else. Good? Okay. And you're right. We're helping. We're helping, not we're supporting, not providing the full thing. Okay, so the second part was the tax rate or the taxes. So what is that? How did we come up with that? Does anybody remember that one?
That's just basically what was always used to cover it. When I emailed Jerry, because he was off, he wasn't sure about the discrepancy between the 183 and 175, but when I asked him what number he would suggest, because we always just put his number on that,
Okay? So yeah. And we have to keep in mind too, like how many organizations there are inside the town limits, right? And yeah, that's all I'll say. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like just to say, and it's also not free taxes. We're giving grants to help with that, again, to help, but we can't support, to the tune of that much money. Go ahead, Councillor.
Just a question, are we looking to get an amount for those tax grants today?
It would be nice to recommend the council be approved in December, because Jeff said it has to be approved before the next budget. So ideally, yes.
I'd make a motion then that we approve 175,000 for tax grants for the next coming budget.
Okay, moved and seconded. Did you say 175?
I say 175, yeah.
Okay. Yep, it's between the two. He couldn't figure out the discrepancy, so. Go ahead. You're good. I can see the smile.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this tax deferral or tax forgiveness issue is one that's really, I struggle with a lot. I think we have lumped a whole lot of institutions into the same bucket, and we're treating them the same, and I'm not convinced that they are the same. I think that to look at the Yarmouth Library, the Yarmouth Public Library, which we have a provincial responsibility to provide for, and say, well, we're going to lump that in with the Knights of Columbus, who is a service organization and do very good things, but they also do things for themselves, if you understand what I'm saying. The library is a public institution.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Yes, I do.
No, ask the question. Put your light on so you can ask the question, so she can answer the question.
Okay, so when you say library, did we not change that anyway? Is the library not part of that number?
It's tax exempt now, so when you see the 275 to 175, that's the library becoming exempt, so that's when we increase it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So that's changed.
That has changed.
Okay, but
Changed
not
a
the
few years back.
museum, not the Historical Society and Museum, right?
No.
So so the museum falls into that bucket, right? Yeah. And other basically public institutions fall into that bucket along with, so I'm the low end, I'm a little concerned about the low end. I'd rather see the high end and give us a little bit of leeway. What would be my 183, yeah.
Go ahead there, Wade.
Why don't we move it up? I have no problem with that, actually. I'm
You would
I'm
have
really
to-
cool with the 183.
I'd have no problem with amending it to 183, yeah.
Okay. I like what you said about the difference, right? I mean, right now, a lot of that money, the biggest chunk, I think, goes to the museum. A huge amount, like almost half. And it's, we can't, because it's a Yarmouth County museum. We can't. Go ahead. I don't know how to handle it.
Well, the reality is that the Yarmouth County Museum is, well, anyway.
I think we need.
Would we rather see it taken over by, say, the provincial government?
Oh, no. What I'm saying is I think we need to sit down and understand what we have in front of us. And I really appreciated what you said about those subtle differences that we don't really think of.
Oh,
Like, that's good. That's good. I wouldn't have thought it, I wouldn't have thought of that, so thank you. Go ahead there, Deputy.
I think the same could be said for our other grants though as well. Some are events and some are actually clubs that provide a service to say seniors and whatnot too. You know, and I realize, you know, it's
Yeah.
kind of the same pot type deal, but you know, my grandmother goes to the seniors Second Chance Club every week, and I know they put on meals and do great work down there and whatnot. And their ability to raise funds may not be as much as, say, CFES, who could charge for events. And although very happy to support that, you know, some people have more the ability to raise. So
Yeah.
I think that applies to both the
Yeah.
tax grants and the grants that we give. There are differentiations in it, and maybe that's a discussion we could have about both.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to, and we've not done this. Like, we used to have people come in and chat, but we need to sit down together, like, putting all of this on the table and saying, this is where the money needs to go or should go, and still have the freedom to put it where you want to go, where you feel is best, I think is really important. So where were we? We were 183? I'm good with that. Okay? All in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Good stuff. All righty, where are we? Correspondence, we've got the YCON funding report, International Day for the Elimination, Chuck Smith, so we've got all those additions, okay? Go here, Councillor Dares.
Just to back up 1 second, is there not a request in regards to the International Day for Elimination of Violence? I think they're requesting that we light the town hall up in orange. Tomorrow is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, as declared by the United Nations.
Okay.
And I think the request is that I think they were asking that we light up the bandstand in Frost Park and Town Hall, but given that the Frost Park lighting has
Yeah.
already been installed, I think that might
That's
not be
tomorrow.
appropriate, but can we do something in Town Hall to?
Is that tomorrow?
Tomorrow is the International Day, but the request extends to December 10th, which would also cover December 6th, which is recognized each year.
Oh, it's December 6th, that's right. We can ask Todd if he
Yeah,
can.
and that's all I'm asking, is that we
Yeah, put
refer
in
to
an
Todd and
orange-
ask
orange light.
if that's possible.
Lindsay, can you ask Todd, just for the 6th of December? Yeah, the orange light, and just on Town Hall. Yeah, Councillor Dares made that motion. Didn't you?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Councillor, Deputy Mayor seconded it? Okay, Councillor Heather?
No.
You good? Okay,
Something else.
okay, you're on. Oh, you're good? Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, contrary? Motion carried. Okay, so now we're at go here. Aren't we?
Nope.
Yeah, by all means. Sorry.
I
Did
like
your
to
light
speak
beam
to it
on
as,
first?
I like to speak to it as well, but Heather.
Okay.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I just, I read the report, I was just pleased to see that report, because we don't normally get them. We get that when we get a grant application, but not as a report, and I know that they were a newly developed organization last summer, and we funded them, and according to the report, it was successful, and they're looking to be bigger and better, and I think, I was pleased to support them last year, and I was pleased to get that report, I thought that was a very respectful report for them to send us, so I thank them for that.
Thank you. Go ahead, Deputy.
Exactly what I was thinking. So often we give this money out, we're not sure kind of what happens, although we're always thankful for people putting things on for our community, but this report is like very thorough, on point, and another thing that I really like is last weekend they actually had a yard sale at the high school, so instead of just asking for funds, they're actually going out there and trying to raise their own money too. I know they did a trivia night and whatnot, so just really good to see and very thankful for the follow-up.
Thank you. I think that goes back to what we're saying about grants. Like, we're not the provider, we're helping. we're helping. And I keep going back to the splash park, but when organizations kind of take it on and they just go out there, I think there's more success to funding than otherwise. Okay. And then Mr. Smith had, I don't have it in front of me, I just have the agenda, but he had a budget there that said he had so much money, and I'm sure he'll come to us with a request when he figures out that budget, what he might need from us. Go ahead, Deputy.
Just on a side note, Yarmouth High actually had Chuck Smith in to present on at a Remembrance Day service. So he gave a wonderful speech about kind of the connection to the community, the history. Called out Bell and myself both for having people involved and whatnot. But it was really good for the kids to hear that firsthand. So many times they drive by on the 11th or whatnot and just see that as a statue, but to connect it with people and to know that these are people who are relatives who fought for our freedom. So shout out to Chuck for making sure that history stays alive.
Love it. Perfect. Go ahead.
In your worship, I wonder if you could just indulge me to let you in on a committee that's been formed by Todd, our parks supervisor, to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the unveiling of the Cenotaph Memorial, and that will take place on June the 9th, 2023. So stay tuned.
It's our birthday.
Yeah. Oh, how wonderful. Yeah, well, there you go. You'll have some extra something special to celebrate next year. Thank
Yarmouth's
you.
birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Go ahead.
And a side note to that, just a shout out to Todd, who won an award. I believe it was a national award.
Yes.
And I know he does a lot of work behind the scenes, even outside of the wonderful park and things that we're looking at the moment. So good job to him, and wish him all the best in his continued efforts.
Good stuff. Okay. Okay, so Councillor Dares, you're here on with Go Here.
Yeah, it's just an information item. The Go Here Washroom Access Program, I think you may have noticed when you come through the front doors today that it's been deckled. Yarmouth Town Hall has become the second location in Yarmouth to be designated. This is an app that's available on Android and iPhone, and it shows locations of public washrooms that are available for use with people that suffer from Crohn's or colitis. The Accessory Advisory Committee will be reaching out to local businesses and encouraging them to participate. The International Day for persons, recognition of persons with disabilities is December 3rd, so we're hoping that between now and then, we'll be able to sign a few more people up. And you'll be hearing more in days to come. And I just wanted to pass on my thanks to Mike Carter for having done a really good job of advertising the program to date. And in the next little while, you'll also hear from a couple of community heroes, I think, that are doing short videos to promote the program. And that's our MLA and our very own Councillor Bell Hatfield. So thank you.
Awesome. Yay. Good job. Okay, so I just had a list of very quick snippers here. The 100 meals, we're going to get up and running. I'm going to ask you this, but I want just to think about it. For the Good Grub group, is there any way that they could come together and do those inside as opposed to a drive-through? But think of, so I'll sit down with you. And is council okay to commit maybe to one a month? Do you want to think about that? Okay, we did it before. It's just fun. It's like a team building thing. It's just fun. Okay? And if there's any other groups, I know you had a group that did them on Saturdays, but that's a lot of, I don't know if they're interested or somebody would take it, but I'll have to we'll figure that out. I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying we have a lot of groups. If any of you have any ideas, Rotary Club and all these places, Lions Club nights. Yeah.
The local LIP, the local immigration project that
Yeah.
I work with,
Yeah.
we're talking about taking one on and perhaps trying to make it as open as possible for newcomers as well.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, the newcomers should be, we should find, actually, there is a way.
Yes, there is.
You and I are going to a dinner with 150 newcomers. So we will mention that to make sure that there's a place they can go to get the schedule once it's up. We have to do that. Okay, so I just want you to be aware, and I'll see like what schedule we can do for council. I think we're all aware of this as well. We just signed the card for Jim McRae. I'm going to bring a certificate and the card on Monday. And I did give permission for the Aurora to fly by over the Legion. We sent that letter today. So that's happening. By all means, 2 to 4 on Monday. Stop by if you want to do that. Say hello. Tomorrow morning, I don't know what time, sometime between like 9 and 11:30, the YES students are going to come decorate the tree. They always do. Ashley Purdy usually brings her class in, a couple other classes come. So they'll start to decorate. Dumping day might be Monday. Does anybody go? Because I can't go. If anybody's able to go out to the lighthouse, yeah, I don't go, but if somebody can go, then let me know, okay? Yeah. Otherwise, I'll just call the radio and tell them, okay? And then we have our Christmas party. That invitation went out. Just make sure you let Lindsay, that's for you folks too. Make sure you let Lindsay know how many can come so we can have food. Lots of food. You don't have to bowl. You don't have to wear an ugly sweater. You just have to have fun, just to get together. So I think people panic, like, I can't bowl, neither can I, but it's not going to be pretty, but it'll be fun. Right? So I think that's what I had. Additions in camera. So yeah, so we're done except for the in camera. So motion to go in camera, and we'll go right in there. Okay? All right.